Hi everyone, it's Raquel Bowman here today again with a layer for Hip Kit Club. I'm using the December kits again and I decided to scrapbook my daughter's 3rd birthday. I love the colours in these photos and I love that they coordinate beautifully with the kit. I hadn't scrapbooked the event yet, so that was in October, so I thought it was a perfect chance using this kit to get some of that documented. So what I was trying to decide was whether I wanted to use a 4x6 photo or 3 of these smaller photos that I printed on my Epson PictureMate. And I decided with these 3 photos. The cut file that you can see that I'm using is actually one from Nicole's cut file set, and what I did was I enlarged it slightly. I copied and pasted it 3 times and joined it in a row, and then I welded it together so it was sort of like one strip of hearts. And I loved the idea of being able to back those hearts and make it a bit of a feature of the page. I've also cut some words which I don't end up using, but I wasn't quite sure. And you can see that I've used one of the pieces of paper in the kit just to back 2 of the hearts. I mustn't have pressed record when I did that. Sorry, so we missed seeing that part, but all I did simply was just trace around the heart and then cut it out and stick it on. So there wasn't any sort of detailed layering behind those cut files for this one. Then what I found was I wanted sort of a neutral pattern paper to go behind one of the photos to highlight them. So I've pulled that out from the 6x6 paper pad from the Shine collection, and I've put that behind that photo in the middle and just given it a slight matte. Then what I've done is, and I've cut and pasted sort of and skipped a lot. I did a lot of fluffing around on this layout and moving things and not being happy and switching the camera recording on and off, and clearly from this I've skipped some bits and pieces and I apologize again for that, but I'll explain what I'm doing or what I've done so that you know. So I've backed that cut file, I've backed the photo, I've popped a doily that I always use on my page, and then what I did was I gathered the ephemera and I tried to find the pink and the cream toned pieces, and also anything with that little pop of that sort of minty teal colour. So I found a few different pieces, and I also think I cut a couple out from one of the cut apart sheets in the 6x6 paper pad, and then I've just layered them in a vertical design. So at the top there's that sort of eye chart, there's an ampersand, pink ampersand little card, and then a little green paint chip, and then I'm popping on another ephemera piece that says best day just then. And then down at the bottom section I've got the butterfly piece and another sort of aperture lens camera detailed little cream piece of sort of die cut, and then under that was just another one, and I think that one was cut from one of the pattern papers. Now what I'm trying to do is work on my title. So I knew that it wanted to be about my daughter turning 3, and in the images she was actually trying to count and show me 3 fingers, and it was quite funny because you know how your ring finger automatically sort of stays down when you're trying to hold 3 fingers up, and it was making her giggle. And yeah, I managed to capture those when I was taking photos on the day of her party before all the guests arrived, so I was happy to get that little cute moment of hers. And I cut out the 3 from one of the papers, the Shine collection papers. I love the look of that number paper, and I knew that I wanted to cut that out somehow and use it on a layout. So when I was creating this one based on my daughter's birthday, I knew that it would be perfect. I've also added some chipboard to the page, so I've added that chipboard heart, and I thought that it sort of mimicked the look of the cut file, and it also adds a bit of dimension there. So I've pop that on top of that middle heart. I've used the die cut that says Happy Day, and I've added a couple of hearts, chipboard hearts at the top, and one down to the bottom right of the number 3. And now what I'm doing is just trying to add those extra layers and bits and pieces. So this is where I'm adding the bit of detail. So I had the skeleton of the page there, I had the die cut, I had my photos, I had a couple of bits of ephemera, and now I'm just looking to add those extra little details that for me make a page finished. So I'm looking at adding a little bit more of that soft pink. So you'll see that I've just cut a little piece and popped it down in that corner. It's something that you might not notice on the page unless it's pointed out. But for me, as I said, they're those finishing little touches that I like to add. I've cut out a little love heart that says love you from one of the cut apart sheets from the Shine collection. I've pulled aside that washi because I knew that I wanted to use that somehow on the page. There was a cute strip there with the pink and white and black and that little sort of colour of that green, so I wanted to incorporate that in. And I also wanted to incorporate some vellum into this page in that vertical strip. So I'll work that actually behind all of that arranged ephemera. So you'll see that I'll stick the ephemera there together in the placement that I wanted it. And I'll do that to the top section and the bottom section. And then I will adhere all of that onto the vellum. The layout's coming together sort of really nicely now, but this layout did in fact take me quite a long time to find my feet and find the design that I had in mind. I moved things around and the photo placement a lot at the start, trying to figure out the best place to pop the photos, because I had that heart die cut that I wanted to feature as well, and that did make it that little bit more trickier for me to find the design that I wanted. On the top of that middle photo, I've also added one of those gorgeous Heidi Swap paper clips, and that's just another way to sort of feature that photo and to make it stand out. You can see there that I've added that strip of vellum, and again it's one of those small details that you might not notice a lot when you look at the layout directly, but for me it is just something that I love to add vellum. I love that it adds that little varying sort of layer to the page, and I love that it sort of adds a bit of a softness to the page as well. So for me, it doesn't matter how much I have going on in my layers. You'll normally be able to find vellum somewhere on a page, and it's just something that I love adding. I have added that photo there with a little bit of foam. So again, because I wanted that one to be a sort of standout, that just raises it up that little bit and pops out of the page that little bit more. And I've popped the photos on either side. They're not matted with the pattern paper, and they're just adhered to the back. But what I have done is sort of tucked them into that die cut heart, and you'll see me trying to figure out how I was going to do that there, whether I wanted it to go in front of those ends or behind, and I do decide to pop them as they are there. So I'll just pop a little bit of adhesive behind those photos and get them stuck down. You'll also see earlier that I used a T-square ruler. This is one of the things that I'm so glad that I found and invested in. I love to have balance to my layouts. I'm a sucker for having things sort of straight or it depends on what I'm doing, but I do like things to, if I want them to be straight, I want them to be straight. I don't want them to be, a little bit crooked when I'm actually trying to make them straight. If you're making them wonky on purpose, then you want them to look like they're on purpose, not that you were trying to make them straight. Does that make sense? Oh my gosh, I don't know. It's getting late here, and we've had a very big day. But so I've got a T-square ruler. I think that's what they're called. I love it. It means that I can apply pattern paper straight. I can use it to help guide any alphabet or title that I want to place on my page. I can use it to make sure that something is straight. I can use it to find the center or a point on the page to make sure that objects that I'm wanting to put at a certain point are there. And I don't know if anyone's been watching CHA videos and releases, but I just saw one today from We Are Memory Keepers, and it's pretty cool. So firstly, I saw from them a laser ruler guide thing, so it projects your lines out from the sides of the ruler. So there's one sort of going vertically and one going horizontally, and you can get I've seen my husband use, he's a carpenter, I've seen him use them before. It's for your pages, so I thought that was pretty cool. Apologies, that's the baby monitor in the background. And also I saw a Staple Anywhere kit. So it's a kit where you can basically pop this piece under your page and then stick the stapler on top and staple anywhere on your page, which I have a long arm stapler and I have my tiny attacher, but having that tool and making it just that bit of extra convenience of being able to staple anywhere, I thought that was pretty cool. So I thought they were quite innovative and different, and that's what I sort of love about that company. You'll always see something pretty cool coming from them at CHA. Anyway, that's my little tangent, but I'm sure that you're like me and you've been watching these videos coming up on YouTube and oohing and ahhing and loving and writing a bit of a wish list, and yeah, that was one that I thought was pretty cool when I saw that today. So what I'm doing here is, and you haven't really missed much, I've adhered everything down in terms of the layers. I've added the little bit of washi tape, which you can see there. I've added some of those gorgeous silver hearts as well, and I love them as soon as I saw them in one of the kits and thought they'd be super cool to add to a page. They're gorgeous, so pretty. I've added turning, and I did try and use that in the thickers and found it was too big, so I've grabbed out the Heidi Swap ones, and I think that those little round stickers, I think that they were from the Project Life kit. And I'll apologise you can't see what I'm doing there, but I am just rubbing on a couple more of those Heidi Swap rub-ons. My packet wasn't working the best, but at the moment in my craft room, I think it's just a case of any rub-ons I have are pretty much not working very well. I don't know if it's too hot out here or what it is, but they, don't turn out very nicely. I'm adding the date and a little stamp, and that was from the Shine collection as well. And now I'm going to add some journaling with my typewriter. What I do when I'm using my silhouette is I'll just put together any scraps and I put them all in the same spot on my desk so that I can use the leftover negative pieces, like this piece that I'm typing on now, to type my journaling. So I find that I don't waste any of those white leftovers from my silhouette cutting. I'll end up turning them into journaling strips. So here I've just typed, you were so excited to turn 3, you tried so hard to count on your fingers. And that's all I've written there, and I can always elaborate that story to my daughter when she's a little bit older and is starting to read and look at her albums herself. So I've zoomed you back out. I'm pretty much finished there. So here's some close-ups. I hope that you've enjoyed this process video today. I know that I'm really enjoying making them. So don't forget to leave me a comment, subscribe, or give me a thumbs up so I know I'm on the right track with these. And I'll be back soon with some more shares. Thanks everyone. Bye.